For generations, the people of Ghana's Oti region have lived at the mercy of a river. Every morning, traders load their yams and cassava onto crowded wooden boats. Drivers queue for hours waiting for a rusting ferry that breaks down without warning. School children, pregnant women, the sick and the elderly, all of them make the same dangerous calculation every single day. Do they risk the crossing or do they stay behind? For decades, that has been life at the Oti River in Dambai. But that story is finally changing. Ghana is building a bridge, and not just any bridge. A 1.5-kilometer megastructure that will permanently end one of the most painful infrastructure gaps in the country's modern history. This is the Dambai Bridge, and construction has begun. Let us start with why this river crossing matters so much, because without understanding the problem, you cannot fully appreciate the scale of what is being built. The Oti River at Dambai sits at a critical choke point in Ghana's national geography. To the south lies Accra and the major commercial centers of the country. To the north lie the northern, Savannah, northeast and upper regions, Ghana's agricultural heartland, a zone that feeds millions of people. The Oti region itself sits right in the middle, serving as the primary corridor for goods, people and trade moving between north and south. And yet, until now, there has been no permanent bridge across this stretch of river. None. The only options have been the government ferry and privately operated wooden engine boats. And both options carry serious, sometimes fatal risks. Between 2023 and 2025 alone, there were 11 recorded boat accidents at the Dambai ferry crossing. 11. Fathers lost. Traders drowned. Children heading to school who never came home. The ferry itself frequently breaks down, stranding drivers and passengers for hours, sometimes days. Perishable goods rot in the heat. Business transactions collapse. The human cost has been immeasurable, and communities have been demanding a solution for decades. Every government that has come to power has made the promise. And every government has left it unfulfilled, until now. So what exactly is being built? Let us talk about the bridge itself, because the engineering and scale of this structure deserve serious attention. The Dambai Bridge will span 1,500 meters across the Oti River. That is 1.5 kilometers of permanent, high-grade infrastructure cutting across one of Ghana's most strategically important river crossings. To put that in perspective, that is roughly 15 times the length of a standard football pitch laid end-to-end. This is not a small community bridge. This is a major national infrastructure asset. The design work for the project was handled by FDN Group, a Dutch engineering firm with a track record that includes major projects in the Netherlands, Suriname, and now Ghana. FDN worked in direct collaboration with Ghana's Ministry of Roads and Highways to carry out local surveys, soil analysis, environmental studies, and full architectural and engineering design. The technology at the heart of this bridge is known as Ultrabridge, a modular construction system developed by FDN Group in partnership with TU Delft, one of the world's leading technical universities. Ultrabridge uses ultra-high-performance concrete, commonly referred to as UHPC, a next-generation construction material that is exponentially stronger and denser than standard concrete. This is not the concrete of ordinary road construction. Ultra-high-performance concrete allows for thinner, more elegant structural elements while delivering far superior load-bearing capacity. It is resistant to corrosion, resistant to cracking, and engineered to handle the kind of heavy traffic and climatic stress that Ghana's infrastructure routinely faces. The Dambai Bridge will feature a full concrete design with a steel frame concrete deck built from prefabricated modular elements, meaning large sections of the structure are manufactured in controlled conditions and then assembled on site with precision. Why does that matter? Because modular, prefabricated construction dramatically accelerates build time. Traditional bridge construction of this length in a challenging riverine environment can take many years. The Ultrabridge modular approach compresses that timeline while maintaining, and in many cases exceeding, conventional safety and structural standards. FDN has designed their Ultrabridge systems for a lifespan of over 100 years with minimal maintenance requirements. When this bridge is completed, it is not built for a decade or two. It is built for the next century. Ghana will not need to come back to Dambai and rebuild this crossing for generations. Sustainability was also a core design principle. The engineers specifically designed the structure to minimize environmental impact on the Oti River ecosystem. The materials used and the construction methods selected were chosen with long-term ecological balance in mind. In an era where infrastructure projects are increasingly scrutinized for their environmental footprint, the Dambai Bridge sets a standard that Ghana can be proud of. Now let us talk about the current status of construction, because this is where the story becomes most exciting. For much of 2025, the Dambai Bridge existed as a promise, A compelling promise backed by government commitment, but a promise nonetheless. President John Dramani Mahama flagged the project as a centerpiece of his administration's Big Push agenda, a $10 billion national infrastructure program designed to drive economic growth and regional development across Ghana. During his thank you tour of the Oti region in July 2025, Mahama stood before chiefs and residents at the Dambai College of Education and made a direct commitment. He acknowledged the Oti region's strategic role as what he described as a key transit zone for food and goods moving between north and south, a zone that deserves focused and targeted investments. He gave his word that construction of the Dambai Bridge would begin before the end of that year. That promise was kept. In October 2025, the Oti Regional Minister, John Kwadwo Jayapong, confirmed that discussions with the contractor had been concluded and that a sod-cutting ceremony was imminent. Then, in December 2025, the Ghana News Agency reported what communities had been waiting decades to see: heavy construction equipment arriving at Dambai. Long trucks rolled through Dambai Old Town Junction loaded with rollers, excavators, bulldozers, loaders, compactors and graders, all destined for the River Oti Bridge site. Residents who had spent years watching politicians come and go lined the road to witness the machinery arrive. For many of them, it was the most credible sign of progress they had ever seen. By February 2026, during his State of the Nation address to Parliament, President Mahama confirmed that the Dambai Bridge is among the major bridge works actively progressing under his government. Alongside the Adaso Bridge over the River Afram, the Dambai project is now officially in motion. No longer a sketch on paper, no longer a campaign promise, but an active construction project with equipment on the ground and a contractor mobilized. The economic impact of completing this bridge will be transformative, and that is not an overstatement. Economist Werlanyo Mensah, speaking to the Ghana News Agency in January 2026, laid out the argument clearly. The absence of a permanent bridge over the Oti River has long suppressed trade, limited investment, and increased the cost of doing business for the entire northern corridor. Farmers in the north cannot reliably move produce south. Businesses in the south cannot efficiently serve northern markets. Transport operators absorb massive losses from ferry delays and breakdowns. Private sector players avoid the region entirely because the infrastructure risk is too high. A permanent, high-capacity bridge changes all of that overnight. It makes the Oti region viable for private investment. It reduces the cost of food distribution. It integrates Ghana's north and south into a more coherent economic unit. And it does so in a way that the ferry system, no matter how well maintained, can never replicate. There is also a human dimension to this story that cannot be reduced to economic calculations. For the communities of the Oti region, this bridge is not merely infrastructure. It is dignity. It is the end of a daily gamble with the river. It is the schoolchild who no longer has to pray before a boat crossing. It is the market woman who no longer watches her goods rot because the ferry has broken down again. It is the pregnant woman who reaches a hospital in time. That is what 1.5 kilometers of concrete and steel means to the people of Dambai. That is why this is not just a construction story. It is a human story. And after decades of waiting, it is finally being told with machinery on the ground. Ghana's Dambai Bridge is being built. The equipment is there. The contractor is mobilized. The engineering is world-class. And when this structure is completed, it will stand as one of the most consequential pieces of infrastructure in Ghana's post-independence history. A 100-year bridge that closes a wound that has been open far too long.